There's a level of unwavering discipline that commands attention and even evokes a sense of awe, perhaps even a little fear, in those who witness it. Today, you'll uncover the secrets to achieving this very state. Have you ever encountered someone who seems incapable of failure? They rise at the same hour each day, follow a consistent routine, and simply never falter. While others abandon their goals after a few weeks, this person perseveres. While others offer excuses, they consistently show up. And what do people often say about them? That's just not normal. There's an age-old system, developed by Zen monks in Japan, that cultivates precisely this kind of remarkable consistency. It's called Guji, a self-perpetuating practice. Once you grasp its underlying principles, you'll find yourself consistently achieving your goals. However, there's a significant caveat. This system isn't for everyone. It demands the sacrifice of a part of yourself you may not even know exists. But before we delve into the workings of Guji, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share in the comments the habit you're most eager to cultivate in your life. Your engagement provides invaluable support and indicates your genuine desire for change. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Awakening. The story I'm about to share revolves around a programmer named Raphael. He was intelligent and enjoyed a successful career, but he struggled with one persistent problem. He couldn't maintain any habit for more than a couple of weeks. Gym workouts would cease after 2 months. Meditation attempts lasted a week, tops. As for reading, he'd buy a book, read a few pages, and then forget about it in a drawer. The pattern was always the same. Monday, brimming with motivation. Wednesday, the first internal negotiations began. Friday, complete surrender. Sunday, renewed promises for the coming week. Raphael tried every trick in the book, habit tracking apps, reward systems, accountability partners, but nothing seemed to work. He was battling something far more fundamental than he realized. The very structure of his brain. That is, until the day he discovered the secret behind Zen monks' ability to meditate for centuries without missing a single session. And no, it's not sheer willpower. It's something far more profound and, frankly, a little unsettling. Chapter 2. The Secret of the Monks. Within Zen temples, there's a rule that appears simple but carries transformative power. Jyoji. Translated literally, it means continuous practice without gaps. Without gaps. Do you grasp the significance of that? It means that since the year 1200 AD, a bell has rung every single day at 3:30 a.m. at a high temple. And since 1200 AD, the monks have awakened every single day, not at 3:25 a.m., not at 3:35 a.m., but precisely at 3:30 a.m. Want to know what you'll never hear in that temple? No monk lying in bed contemplating whether to skip the morning session. The question simply doesn't arise in their minds. Why? Because they understand something you likely don't yet. Your brain categorizes every commitment into one of two boxes, reversible or irreversible. Reversible commitments become fodder for mental negotiation. Irreversible commitments simply happen. When a monk takes their vows before the entire community, they're not just making a promise. They're undergoing an identity shift. They're not promising to try to meditate. They're declaring themselves a meditator. The community bears witness, the identity transforms, and the internal debate ceases. A Harvard University neuroscientist, who has dedicated 15 years to studying habits, has made a groundbreaking discovery. When you make a behavior public, your primitive brain interprets failure as a threat to your survival. Our ancestors who lost status within their tribe faced dire consequences, and your brain still operates under that ancient programming. That's precisely what Raphael did. He stopped making private promises and began making public declarations. He wrote, "I am a person who meditates for 20 minutes every day at 5 a.m. for 90 consecutive days." Signed the declaration, posted it on social media, and told everyone he knew. His girlfriend called him too dramatic, and his coworkers said he was trying too hard. Perfect. Every person he knew became fuel for his commitment. Every morning he felt the urge to give up. He thought about having to face everyone and admit he was just another person who couldn't keep his word. Day 3 brought the first real test. The alarm went off at 5 a.m. and his mind immediately launched into its usual routine. You're exhausted. This isn't healthy. Missing one day won't matter. But something fundamental had shifted. The thought of posting online that he'd failed after just 3 days was unbearable, as was the prospect of facing his girlfriend and admitting he'd given up again. The public declaration had made giving up far more painful than continuing. But here is where the real problem began. Chapter 3. The Internal War. Even with all this social pressure, Raphael was still waging war every single day. His body didn't care about his reputation. It simply wanted to sleep when it was tired. The public declaration ended the mental negotiation, but he still fought biology every morning. That's when he discovered the monk's second principle: non-negotiable hours. Every day, you waste mental energy on the same pointless question. When will I do this? Now or after breakfast? In the morning or at night? This constant decision-making drains glucose from your brain, glucose that should be used for actual practice. You're essentially wasting fuel deciding when to drive instead of actually driving. Raphael chose 5 a.m. Not because he was a morning person who loved watching the sunrise, but because the world was asleep at that hour. No messages, no emails, no distractions, no excuses. The chosen time wasn't about optimization. It was about elimination, eliminating every possible reason to postpone his practice. The first week was hell. His body fought against it every morning, which is perfectly normal. Your body is a machine that thrives on patterns, and you're forcing it to build a new one. It will resist. In the second week, something shifted. He began waking up 2 minutes before his alarm, his body anticipating what was now expected of it. On the 14th day, the alarm rang, and his feet hit the floor before his conscious mind even engaged. No thought, no decision, just movement. Here's what most people fail to understand about fixed hours. It's not about finding the perfect schedule. It's about removing time as a variable. When you do something at different times each day, you're asking your brain to make a new decision every time. When the schedule is fixed, your brain can't argue with a constant. But Raphael discovered a new problem. His schedule was fixed, but he kept changing what he did during that time. Some mornings, meditation felt right. Other days, he'd read. And sometimes he'd do a few push-ups. His brain had found a new negotiating point. Instead of arguing about when, he started arguing about what. 20 minutes at 5 a.m. became reliable, but the practice itself was chaotic. The fixed schedule had solved half the equation, but his mind was still finding loopholes to negotiate. He'd eliminated the when, but not the what. And this is where Dogen's teaching on forms becomes controversial, because it requires you to do exactly the same thing every single day until your mind completely surrenders. Chapter 4. The One Way. You might think variety keeps things interesting, but variety is actually where consistency goes to die. Every time you change what you're doing, your brain has to make micro-decisions. Should I do push-ups or burpees today? Which book should I read? How long should I meditate? Every small decision is a crack through which your old patterns can seep back in. Raphael completely locked everything down. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading. Same order, same timer, same everything. His personal Ango period, 90 days of identical practice. His friends called him robotic, and his girlfriend said he was getting annoying. They didn't understand that annoying was exactly the point. In the third week, his mind went to war. Every morning, it screamed for variety. This is stupid. You're not a robot. Mix things up, or you'll burn yourself out. In the fourth week, something broke, or not his discipline, but his resistance. The voice of negotiation grew quieter. By week 6, he was halfway through his push-ups before he even realized he'd started. The practice was taking care of itself. This is what people don't understand about consistency. It's not about willpower lasting forever. It's about repetition until willpower is no longer needed. Your body learns the sequence like a dancer learns choreography. An MIT researcher who has studied the automatization of behaviors for 12 years explains, when you repeat an action in the same context for approximately 66 days, the basal ganglia of the brain take over. The behavior becomes automatic. You are no longer deciding to do it. You are simply doing it. On the 35th day, Raphael caught the flu. On the 40th, he was traveling for work. This is where the old patterns kick in. Sick day equals rest day. Travel equals exception. This is where you gave up before, where everyone gives up because perfect practice requires perfect conditions, and perfect conditions do not exist. But Dogen understood something about gaps that changes everything. He wrote that practice must continue without even a moment of gap, because in that gap, all your old patterns return. What saved Raphael when everything went wrong was understanding that practice doesn't require perfection. It requires continuity. Chapter 5. Practice without gap. The all-or-nothing lie has killed more consistency than laziness ever could. You tell yourself, if I can't do the full 20 minutes, why do anything? If I can't do perfect push-ups, I'll wait until tomorrow. This thinking creates gaps, and gaps are where your old self crawls back in. Look at any elite athlete, and you'll see something people misinterpret. They have rest days, but those rest days are still progress. They're intentional, strategic, planned, never because they feel lazy, never because they don't want to train. A rest day allows them to train harder tomorrow. This is still movement toward the goal. But when you skip because you're tired, that's not rest. It's retreat. A river never stops flowing. During a drought, it may be a trickle, but it never stops. The moment it stops, it's no longer a river. It's a memory of where the water used to be. Your practice is the same. The moment you create a gap, you're no longer practicing. You're someone who used to practice. Travel day arrived on day 40. Airport at 4 a.m. Meetings all day, no gym at the hotel. Raphael did push-ups in the airport bathroom. People looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Great. He meditated in the Uber and read on the plane. Nothing was perfect, but everything maintained momentum toward the same goal he declared 90 days ago. This is Gyoji. Practice continuing itself. That's when people started to notice. Coworkers said he seemed different, friends said he was becoming obsessive, and someone actually said his discipline wasn't healthy and that normal people don't act like that. When you hear these words, you know you're on the right track. Normal people get normal results. You're not trying to be normal, you're trying to be unbreakable. But here's what no one prepares you for. The unexpected obstacles you never saw coming. The things you can't plan for because you don't know they exist. Chapter 6. Pre-solutions. Your child gets sick, your car breaks down on the way to the gym, or your boss keeps you late. These are consistency killers because you haven't pre-decided how to handle them. Every time an unexpected obstacle appears, you have to make a decision under stress, and that decision, in that moment of chaos, is where you'll choose the path of least resistance every time. The obstacle wins because you're fighting a battle you didn't prepare for. Zen monasteries have operated for centuries without missing a single day of practice, despite earthquakes, wars, and famines. How? They don't make decisions when obstacles arise. The answer already exists. When the meditation hall floods, they go to the dining hall. When the dining hall catches fire, they sit in the courtyard. There is no meeting, no discussion, no negotiation. The bell rings, and the response is automatic. Raphael wrote down every obstacle that had ever broken his consistency and pre-solved each one. Plan for rain, push-ups in the garage, guests staying home, silent workout in the bathroom, hangover which shouldn't happen but if it does 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, 1 page of reading. Each scenario had its predetermined response. When X happens, I do Y. No thinking, no negotiating, just execution. The power of this isn't just maintaining the sequence. It's that you stop wasting mental energy on decisions. Your brain knows that no matter what happens tomorrow, the practice continues. This certainty changes your entire nervous system. A Yale University behavioral psychologist, who has been studying decision-making for 20 years, found that when you pre-decide your actions, you remove decision fatigue from the critical moment. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for willpower, remains intact to execute rather than decide. Day 70, Raphael's practice had become completely automatic. He would sometimes wake up not even remembering doing the push-ups. His body simply moved through the sequence like a programmed machine. His girlfriend's mother visited for a week, and he did push-ups in the bathroom at 5 a.m. The practice continued because the answers were already written. On the 90th day, he completed his personal Ango 3 months of uninterrupted practice. But something deeper had happened. He was no longer the same person. Friends literally told him, "Your consistency is scary." His response was perfect. Great. Chapter 7. The Transformation. Because when your discipline makes others uncomfortable, you're finally operating at the right level. Your very existence proves that everything they say is impossible is actually just uncomfortable. That's why they'll call you obsessive and why they'll say you need balance. They need you to slow down so they can feel better about standing still. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because you've discovered the secret. Consistency isn't about doing something every day. It's about becoming someone who can't do it any other way. When you implement the Dojo system, public declaration, fixed schedule, seamless practice method, and pre-resolved answers, you're not just creating habits, you're reshaping your identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who simply is. And when that happens, when that transformation is complete, people will look at you and think, "How does he do that?" And the answer will be simple: he doesn't. He is. The question remains, are you ready for this level of transformation? Because it's not about discipline. It's about death and rebirth. The death of your inconsistent self and the birth of your unbreakable self. The Dojo system won't make you a better person. It'll make you a different person. Someone others will look at and think, "That's not normal." And when you hear those words, you'll know you've finally gotten where you want to be. If this video changed your perspective on discipline and consistency, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss future content that will transform you. Tell me in the comments what your public declaration will be and what habit you will implement using the Dojo system. Remember, the consistency that scares others is the only consistency worth having. If you've watched this far, thank you very much for your attention. See you in the next video.